The song was already there before you knew how to name it. It slipped into your life quietly, riding the background of ordinary days, playing from an old radio in the kitchen, drifting through open shop doors, humming from a neighbor's window on warm evenings. You were too young to ask who sang it or where it came from. You only knew how it made you feel. It felt safe. It felt familiar. It felt like something that belonged to everyone and no one at the same time. As the years passed, the song followed you, growing up alongside you. It played during long car rides when the world outside the window seemed endless. It surfaced at school events, family gatherings, and late-night moments when sleep refused to come. Sometimes it was loud and joyful, sometimes soft and aching, but it always fit. The melody wrapped itself around your memories, stitching together moments of laughter, first crushes, silent disappointments, and small victories no one else noticed. You never questioned the voice behind it. In your mind, the song existed beyond a single human life. It felt older than trends, untouched by time, immune to the rise and fall of popularity. You imagined the singer as someone distant and untouchable, perhaps famous, perhaps forgotten, but certainly not ordinary. The song didn't sound like it came from struggle, it sounded complete, confident, as if it had always known its place in the world. Without realizing it, the song became a quiet guide. When words failed, it spoke. When emotions felt too heavy, it carried them for you. You didn't grow up knowing the man who created it, you grew up believing the song itself was alive. And in a way, it was. Long before you discovered the truth, that melody had already raised a generation, shaping hearts without ever revealing the human soul that gave it life. It happens almost by accident. One quiet afternoon, the song plays again, maybe on a playlist, maybe drifting from a screen nearby, and for the first time, a strange thought crosses your mind: who made this? Not just the voice, but the person. The man. You pause, curiosity nudging harder than before, and finally search for the artist behind the melody that has followed you for so long. What you find surprises you. There is no flood of glossy images, no endless interviews, no carefully polished legend. Just a name. Simple. Almost forgotten. A few old photographs appear, grainy, modest, nothing like the larger-than-life image you once imagined. He looks ordinary. Too ordinary for someone whose song felt so permanent, so powerful. It doesn't make sense. You scroll deeper. Articles are rare, fragmented, sometimes contradictory. Some mention brief success, others hint at struggles, pauses, disappearances. Questions begin to form. Why didn't he become famous? Why didn't the world hold on to him the way it held on to his song? It feels as though history skipped over him, preserving the music but erasing the man. There's a strange emptiness in discovering this gap. You realize how easily a voice can outlive its owner, how a creation can shine while its creator fades into the background. The song was everywhere, yet the man was nowhere. It's unsettling, almost unfair. The mystery grows heavier the more you search. You begin to understand that this isn't just a forgotten artist, it's a hidden story. A life lived mostly outside the spotlight, while his music traveled freely through millions of lives. And for the first time, the song feels incomplete without its source. You don't just want to hear it anymore. You want to know him. The deeper you dig, the quieter the internet becomes. There are no dramatic documentaries or viral clips waiting to explain everything. Instead, you find small pieces, old interviews buried in archives, a few quotes shared by people who once crossed his path, stories told without polish or drama. Slowly, a picture begins to form, and it is nothing like the fantasy you imagined. You learn that the lyrics weren't written in comfort or confidence. They were written in survival. The words that once felt universal were born from very specific nights filled with doubt, unpaid bills, and the weight of expectations that never turned into support. The heartbreak in the song wasn't metaphorical, it was lived. Loss, rejection, and loneliness weren't themes, they were daily companions. The melody you always found comforting was created in a small, quiet space, far from applause and bright lights. Sometimes it was written late at night, when sleep refused to come and hope felt fragile. Other times it was shaped by silence, when speaking out loud felt impossible. The song became his way of breathing when everything else felt suffocating. What shocks you most is realizing that he never set out to inspire millions. He wasn't chasing legacy or fame. He was simply trying to get through his own life, one line at a time. The chorus that once felt powerful now sounds like a confession. The verses feel like pages torn from a private diary. Suddenly, the song changes. Not in sound, but in meaning. Every note carries weight now. Every pause feels intentional. You hear the fear hidden beneath the strength, the hope hiding inside the pain. The song you grew up with was never just entertainment, it was a lifeline. And without knowing it, you had been holding on to someone else's truth all along. The story doesn't end with a breakthrough or a standing ovation. There is no dramatic moment where the world finally recognizes his brilliance. Instead, you discover something quieter, almost invisible. Just as the song began to travel, finding radios, playlists, and hearts, he stepped back. Not because he failed, but because life demanded more than applause could offer. Family came first. Health became fragile. Responsibilities grew heavier. The dream that once burned bright had to share space with reality. While other artists chased stages and spotlights, he chose stability over uncertainty, presence over praise. It wasn't an easy choice, and it wasn't a triumphant one. It was human. The industry moved fast, as it always does. New voices replaced old ones. Trends shifted. Names faded. Yet somehow, the song refused to disappear. It lived on without him pushing it forward. It slipped into new generations, untouched by time, carrying the same emotion it always had. People shared it without knowing why it mattered so much, only that it did. You realize the irony, he never became famous, but he became essential. His music became a companion to millions of private moments, moments the charts could never measure. While he lived a life mostly unseen, his creation continued working silently, doing what it was born to do. There is something deeply powerful in that. He didn't win awards or dominate headlines, but he left something permanent behind. The world didn't celebrate the man, yet it kept the meaning he gave it. In stepping away from the spotlight, he didn't disappear. He transformed. And that's when it hits you, fame is loud and temporary, but meaning is quiet and enduring. His name may have faded from memory, but his song never did, and in the end, that may be the greater victory. You press play one more time, but everything has changed. The song begins the same way it always did, the familiar opening notes, the steady rhythm, but now it feels closer, more personal. It no longer floats in the background of your life. It stands in front of you, asking to be heard properly for the first time. As the lyrics unfold, you don't just hear a melody. You hear a man sitting alone in a quiet room, turning pain into words because he had no other way to release it. You hear the courage it took to keep going when no one was watching, when success felt distant and belief felt fragile. The song feels less like a performance and more like a conversation across time. Moments from your own life rise to the surface, times when this song kept you company without you realizing why it mattered so much. You understand now that you weren't alone in those moments. Someone else had been there first, leaving behind a piece of himself so others could survive their own struggles. There is no bitterness in this realization, only gratitude. The man behind the song didn't ask to be remembered, yet he found a way to stay. Not through fame or recognition, but through honesty. Through emotion. Through truth. When the final note fades, you sit in silence. The song that once felt like a part of your childhood now feels like a shared memory between two strangers who never met. You grew up with his song, believing it was just music. Now, you know better. You didn't just discover the man behind the song. You discovered the human heart that made it last.